Hello and welcome to List Building Secrets from a Constant Contact All-Star. My name is Avital Eidenbom. I was a 2012 Constant Contact All-Star Award winner. I'm also an accredited solution provider, and in this webinar, I'm going to share with you some secrets to how I was able to increase my open rates of my newsletter, as well as the information Constant Contact shares with its solution providers to help clients increase their open rates and grow their list. So in this webinar, we're going to cover a lot of information, so let's get started. Now, in order to be selected as a Constant Contact All-Star Award winner, first of all, Constant Contact only selects a few of their customers, and they have almost 500,000 customers, so there's quite a few people. And they base the winners off of meeting a certain criteria. And one of them is doubling your open rates. And in 2012, I was able to get 200 more people to open my email than what I was getting before. Now, I didn't get 200 new subscribers. 200 people who were consistently receiving my newsletter in the past were suddenly and consistently opening my e-newsletter because I was following Constant Contact strategies that I'm going to share with you. And that was one of the factors as to why I was selected as a Constant Contact All-Star Award winner. I also used Constant Contact to leverage my Facebook engagement from my nonprofit page, and I improved the quality of the content of my newsletter, which was a huge mistake I was making before. And those are just a few of the secrets I'm going to share with you in this webinar, along with some helpful tips that you can take as actionable items to improve your newsletter and grow your list. Now, I wasn't always a Constant Contact customer. When I first started diving into email marketing, I first started using RatePoint, which is a company you may not have heard of, but they went out of business. And while I was using their service, I loved their templates, but I hated the service. You were only allowed to contact people via email, and you had to wait for at least 24 hours for somebody to get back to you. And so the service wasn't that great, but I learned afterward that I was making a huge mistake with my newsletters in RatePoint. And I discovered this when RatePoint quietly sold their business to Constant Contact. And because of this business transaction, my RatePoint account was acquired by Constant Contact, and that's how I originally became a Constant Contact customer. Now, I told you I was making a huge mistake, and this is why. Because when RatePoint closed and was acquired by Constant Contact, all of my newsletters were gone. Now, why is this such a big deal, and why was I so upset about it? Well, this was a huge mistake that I was making. I was using my newsletter as a substitute for my website. Now, this is a huge mistake because all of the information that I wanted to share with my customers were in my newsletter. It wasn't anywhere on my website for readers to take action and create traffic to my website. This is a huge mistake that I see so many people today making the same mistake that we'll talk more about later, which is copying content from your website in its entirety and dumping it into your newsletter. So what do we do about it? Well, as a Constant Contact customer, like I said, I wasn't happy at first, but what I started doing was creating my newsletter as an extension of my website, not as a substitute, which is a very key point that I can't stress enough. What I also found as a Constant Contact customer was I loved their support, their selections of templates, their options. And what I absolutely loved about Constant Contact that I don't see other email services providing are free seminars they have throughout the country to teach small businesses and nonprofits about how to use their service and how to use email marketing in their business. And when I attended these seminars, the first one I went to, I won Eric Grove's book, The Constant Contact Guide to Email Marketing. And this was before I was a solution provider. And I read that book the day I got it, from front to back, and I consider it the book that changed my social media life forever. If you're familiar with my organic social media webinar, a lot of the content that triggered my formula for creating organic social media was based off of reading this book from Eric Grove, The Constant Contact Guide to Email Marketing. I went to many seminars in that year, and during a special small business workshop, they gave away the engagement marketing book by Gail Goodman, which helps small businesses win in a socially connected world. And by utilizing constant contact seminars and information, as well as applying their strategies and techniques that they teach people in their workshop, these strategies helped me increase my open rates and leverage constant contact for my Facebook engagement, which was why I ultimately was one of the winners selected as a 2012 Constant Contact All-Star Award winner. So here's what we're going to cover and some of the things I've learned that I'm going to share with you in the webinar. First, we'll talk about the WOW cycle, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with. Building your list and the reality of readers today, especially in the mobile world that we're living in. Common mistakes that I still see people make and the easy way to fix these mistakes. So you can build a quality newsletter that gets opened, gets shared, and can almost run on autopilot, and easy techniques that I'm going to share with you to improve your open rates. So I'm sure you're familiar with the WOW cycle. The first step, and it's a 4-step process, is delivering that wow experience to your customers. And one of the things that Constant Contact really stresses is that engagement on social platforms usually originates most often with word-of-mouth marketing, which is offline. That's when you're not on Facebook. What are you doing in the store? What are you doing to engage your customers to give them that wow experience? So when you ask them to opt in, they're more than happy to. And once they opt in, you want to entice them by staying in touch, having a regularly scheduled newsletter, having great content that gives your readers action and resonates to what your products are, and gives them relevant information to your product or services. And by continuing to engage with them, they'll help deliver new prospects to your door, because what many businesses know, even before social media, was the best prospect was from a referral. Most businesses are found from what friends are sharing about them. And now with social media, friends can share great experiences about your business on social networks to help drive your reach and lead new customers to your door. So first things first is, are you building your list? Whether you're using Constant Contact or an alternative email marketing service, are you building your list? That's one of the most important things you can be doing to grow your business. And all of these social media leaders, Melanie Duncan is well known for teaching businesses how to use Pinterest to grow your business. Pat Flynn is well known in the blogging world and affiliate marketing. Derek Halpern teaches businesses how to build a blog that converts. And Amy Porterfield is well known for her Facebook marketing workshops. So all of these social media leaders, if you were to go to each one of their websites after this webinar, you will see an opt-in form front and center on the homepage of their site, because they all agree that building your list is one of the most important things you can be doing for your business. So whether you choose to use Constant Contact or not, it's important to be building your list. But what do you do with your list? And this is where it comes into, where do you include your opt-in form? If you have a WordPress website, it's really easy to include an opt-in form on the homepage of your website or on the sidebar. It's also easy to include an opt-in form on your social platforms, like your Facebook page, Twitter, Google+, and so on. And it's even great to include an opt-in form offline, for example, at your storefront. If you do have a brick and mortar store, how about right next to your checkout, or in a promotional event, or a flyer? Any promotional events that you have outside of your business or as a joint venture with other businesses. And even in your Constant Contact newsletter. And you might be wondering, why would I include an opt-in form in my Constant Contact newsletter if this person's already subscribed to hearing from me? Well, one of the benefits of your newsletter is that your readers can share it with their friends on their networks. And if one of their friends finds your newsletter and wants to subscribe, make it really easy for them by including a Join My Mailing List in your newsletter. Now, opt-in forms come in many shapes and sizes. The one on the top left is similar to what you'll find on a website. It's also easy to include a Facebook app for Constant Contact on your Facebook page. Offline, you can use things like text to join Or what I have in this picture is a QR code where a person can scan that code on their mobile phone and be able to sign up for your newsletter on their mobile device. And then there's the Join My Mailing List button, which you can include in your Constant Contact newsletter in case your newsletter gets forwarded to somebody that wants to hear from you. But building your list and creating a quality newsletter are two very different things, and this is where I see most people get into trouble. They understand the importance of building their list, but when they have to create a newsletter that engages their reader, they mistakenly bore their reader or turn them off completely to unsubscribing or deleting their newsletter. So what do you do about it? The first thing to avoid is going to your website, copying a bunch of content, and dumping it into your newsletter. This is one of the biggest no-nos in email marketing. You want your reader to take action, and if it's too much content for them to read, even if they want to hear from you, chances are they're not going to have time, and they might try to read it later, but who knows if they'll get back to it. Or, the other problem, if it's too much for them to read, it might irritate them and they'll delete it right away. So what do we do about it? One thing to keep in mind are the reality of readers today, and most readers check their email on a mobile device. So you want to be sure that your newsletter is designed that it can be easily seen and accessible on a mobile device. There's also a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of businesses competing for this same attention from the reader. You want to stand out above the noise, not just be a part of creating it. Readers also have shorter attention spans because there's so much noise and so much accessibility from every business out there. More readers have less attention to give you when reading your newsletter. They also want to feel a connection. People don't just want to have promotions yelled at them all day long. Even if they want to hear from the business and want their promotion, they still need to feel that connection. And so oftentimes, a newsletter needs a call to action so the reader knows what to do. Without those calls to action, you're going to be losing a huge opportunity with your reader to keep reading your newsletter. Most readers today, if the newsletter is designed and the font is too small, it aggravates the readers to the point where they'll likely delete your email or worse, unsubscribe because they can't read your newsletter. So creating a newsletter that's friendly to the mobile user is key in this day and age. So how do you create a mobile-friendly newsletter that will be easily read on a mobile device? Well, one of the things we recommend is a one-column format. That way it easily and nicely displays on a mobile device. Keep it short and sweet. People don't have a lot of time to read your newsletter, and if it's too long, consider chopping it up into multiple newsletters so you're not having to create all this work for one newsletter. Include image text, which I'll get into an example later, because more than likely your images are going to be blocked when it's displayed on the mobile device of your reader, and you want them to unblock the images, but they have to know what the images are first. So you need to have a text below any and all images that's coming from you. And have plenty of calls to action. If you want your reader to take action, they need to be told what to do. Don't just expect them to figure it out. So here's an example of a one-column newsletter. If you were to create a newsletter in Constant Contact, the arrow is pointing to the box that you'll want to select. There's multiple options. You can still choose to have a two-column layout on the right sidebar or left sidebar, but if you want to create a mobile-friendly newsletter, it's strongly recommended that you stick to the one-column format. So this is an example of a newsletter that I made for my son announcing his podcast, and I used the one-column format, which is mobile-friendly and looks really good on a mobile device and has plenty of calls to action. But before you send out your newsletter, you want to be sure to view it without the images to ensure that you've added all the text necessary below your images. So right now we're looking at it in design view, and this is what you'll see when you create your newsletter. But if you switch it to without images, you'll be able to see whether you have the appropriate text below the images, because this is likely what your readers will see when they first initially read your newsletter on their mobile device. So before sending it out, be sure to select without images to make sure that you have the proper text below your images. Here's another tip when designing your newsletter. Go into the header options and select website version and social links. Now this is something that isn't automatically done at the moment. Constant Contact is working on an automated way to be sure these are selected, but each time you go in to create your newsletter, you will need to select a website version and social links. So if your reader is having trouble viewing it on a mobile device, they can click the link and immediately be able to see your newsletter on the web. And by selecting the social share links, you'll be able to give your readers an opportunity to share your newsletter easily on their social networks. You don't need to have a social presence on any of these social networks in order for your newsletter to be shared. Your reader needs to have a presence on them. Another option that you have is customizing the hex codes of your newsletter, so you can grab the hex codes from your website or a promotional flyer and identically match the colors of your newsletter to the look and feel of your website or a particular event. The blocks give you plenty of opportunity to add extra headings, buttons, or content dividers to create that look and feel that you're looking for. Now, if you want to go in and edit an image link so you can add the text or add a hyperlink, this is what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to hover over the picture, and a drop-down option under settings will give you the option to change or add a caption. You want to select change, and it'll pop up into this view, and you'll be able to see the image, add a clickable link, and add an image description. Now the first box on the left is to make the link clickable. That's the hyperlink. That is the web address you want to take your readers to when they click on the link. So if this is the logo on the top of your newsletter, a good URL destination to take them to would be to the homepage of your website. But that's the first step. The second step is really important, especially if you want your readers, your mobile readers, to read your newsletter, and that's adding an image description. Adding the image description, so the yugoezra.com in the orange, that is the text description when I edit the image. Another thing you can do with your images with your Constant Contact account is edit any of your photos with PicMonkey. PicMonkey comes free, and it gives you a wide range of options for enhancing and adjusting the photo within your Constant Contact account. And when editing your newsletter, you have a plethora of options. The first one on the left are the different things that you can insert into your newsletter. You can insert images, document links. So if you have a PDF, for example, or a flyer, you can insert in your newsletter an image or a short paragraph with a link to the entire document. And that gives you an idea as far as how many people have clicked on it. You can also insert links, PayPal payments, and one of my favorites at the bottom is the blog content. So if you have a blog on your website, you can easily insert any blog post into your newsletter with this option. And another option you have when editing your newsletter are the images, selecting different images and inserting different images in different areas of your newsletter. The third option is inserting your social links, and this is something Constant Contact makes really easy for you. All of the links shown on the right are your social profiles that you can add in your newsletter to give your readers an opportunity to connect with you directly on these social platforms: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. So the social share bar at the top allows your readers to share your newsletter on their social platforms, and the social links shown at the right gives you an opportunity for your readers to connect with you directly on your social platforms. And another option you have when editing your newsletter is using the HTML feature. By selecting the HTML button, this HTML window will pop up. So if you know HTML or have HTML web code you'd like to insert into your newsletter, you'd be able to do it here. Another feature that Constant Contact has added this last year is creating folders. So when you send out your newsletter, you can now create folders if you have different themes, different seasons, or different kinds of newsletters you're sending out. One thing they strongly recommend is making a master template folder, because if you're copying the same newsletter over and over again, the HTML can get a little tricky over time. So they recommend creating a master template. That way you're only duplicating the master template rather than the same newsletter multiple times over and over again. Another thing you can do is to create autoresponders. Now I've scheduled my autoresponders for the 1st day, 7th day, 14th day, and 28th day after a new subscriber signs up for my newsletter. And that's the schedule Constant Contact recommends, because you want to stay top of mind, but you don't want to send it out too much, and you don't want to send it out too little that they forget about you. So their recommended schedule for the first month is 1 day, 7 day, 14 days, and 28 days. And there's a lot to talk about with autoresponders, but this is just a brief overview of some of the options you have when creating your autoresponders. Now, when you've created your newsletter and you've created the images that match your website, you matched the colors, you made sure to add the links and the image text descriptions, there's still a right way and a wrong way to put your content into the newsletter. And this is where I see so many people make the mistake. You want to think of healthy portions for your newsletter, just like a meal. And the 4 healthy portions of every newsletter is relevance, value, calls to action, and attention grabbing. Those are the 4 things that you want to focus on to make sure that you're not just educating, empowering, and entertaining your readers, but you're giving them the relevance and value they're resonating with, and the calls to action that's going to grab their attention and get your reader to keep reading or to visit your website or social platform, or any call to action that you want them to do. But it's also easier said than done, because just like the readers of today on their mobile phones, they're constantly on their mobile device. They have a small screen that they're reading your newsletter off of. They have many other distractions going on their mobile device and everywhere else. There's also so much noise because of it. And businesses are expected to react and respond in instant real time. And not to mention that readers today have even shorter attention spans than we've had previously. So how do you create a newsletter that's going to attract your readers, that's going to get them to open up your newsletter and to take action? Well, this is something we can take a lesson from glamour magazines. Now, we're all familiar seeing these glamour magazines when we check out at the grocery store. You have the beautiful model on the cover, the very prompt headline, and bubbles of calls to action that grabs our attention with the right colors and fonts. That's going to make someone who resonates with those calls to action want to buy the magazine. But what do I see far too often still show up in my inbox? A newsletter that looks like this. Now, if you were at a grocery store and you saw these 2 magazines, which one would draw your attention? Which one would you resonate with? And which one would you try to avoid altogether? So even though glamour magazines have been around long before social media and the internet, we can still take some valuable lessons to use in our newsletter, which is what I use to enhance my newsletter, which ultimately made me a 2012 Constant Contact All-Star Award winner. And this is exactly what I did. So here's what you can do, and this is what I did to improve the quality of my newsletter. I always made sure to include a clear cover image that represented my brand or my nonprofit. Also include the name of the company. You'd be surprised how many people work really hard to create a newsletter and send it out, but when you read the newsletter, aside from the sender name, you have no idea what company it's referring to. You also want to be sure to include a logo. And captivating subject lines. Many times I'll see boring subject lines that never get changed and are the same monotonous subject lines month after month. And when a reader is looking in their inbox, you want to stand out. You also want to be sure to include captivating subject lines and headlines that will get your reader to take action. And you want bubbles of calls to action. Don't just expect your readers to figure out what they're supposed to do. Tell them what they should do and give them an easy link or an easy clickable image to take that action. And it's your newsletter. You be the headlines. But one thing you should have in mind is what your newsletter looks like before it's even opened. When a person scans their inbox, the first thing that we scan, and we're all guilty of doing this, is scanning to see who's sending us the newsletter. So you want to be sure that your sender name is your company name or the name of the person your reader expects to hear from. The second thing we do is once we've decided we want to hear from the person, we scan the subject line to determine whether the email is worth opening. Now, looking at this screen, these are 2 newsletters that I subscribe to, Social Media Examiner and Seattle Gymnastics Academy. And looking at the subject line of Social Media Examiner, it's very specific to what I'm going to find if I open up that newsletter. And looking at the bottom of Seattle Gymnastics Academy, newsletter from, and their name, it stays the same every month. Reading that subject line, I don't know what to expect to be reading, and I have so many other emails to choose from. So you want to be careful when you word your subject line that you want it to stand out and attract the attention of your reader to get them to open your newsletter. Once you do that, you still need to build a quality newsletter. And this is what Social Media Examiner's newsletter looks like. It's filled with calls to action and bubbles of headlines. This helps a person on a mobile device scan to see what they want to read more of. But let's look at one of these links even closer. Now, to read the rest of the article, you have to click on a hyperlink, and this is what is going to send them traffic to their website or other social platforms, depending on where the call to action takes them. Now, in this one link, it's a call to action, which is something you want to be sure to include in your newsletter. It's also going to help send them traffic to wherever they want the destination URL to take them to, whether it's their website or another social platform. But another thing this link will give them is specific data, their activity reports, as to how many readers clicked on that link. This helps give them a very clear picture on what engages their reader, so in their future newsletters, they can keep creating content they know will keep their reader engaged. Now let's look at Seattle Gymnastics Academy newsletter, for example. It's really long. There's no hyperlinks. Not even the image is a hyperlink, taking them back to a website. And so the challenge is, without a call to action, they're not going to have any data in their activity reports to see what their reader really wanted to read. It's a lot of content that chances are many of the readers didn't have time to read on their mobile phone. So Seattle Gymnastics Academy is working really hard to create a great newsletter, but they're putting too much content and they're not giving enough call to action for their reader to take. So here are some things we can learn to avoid. You want to avoid loading content into your newsletter. Using boring subject lines. If your subject line is the exact same subject line from your previous newsletter, you need to update it. Also having no calls to action. What do you want your readers to do? Yes, you want them to read the newsletter, but you want to give them an opportunity to go back to your website, go to your social platforms, or perhaps to learn more about an event that you're having. And you want to avoid using your newsletter title as a date. You also want to avoid inundating your newsletter with too many images. If there's too many choices for your reader, it's going to turn them off and they'll likely delete your newsletter. So what are some lessons we can learn from glamour magazines? You want to be sure to include a clear cover image that represents your brand well. Use a magazine title like the name of your company. Use captivating headlines that will attract the readers you want to read your newsletter. And bubbles of calls to action that will take your reader throughout your website to various blog posts or different social platforms to learn more about your brand. And the placement of a timestamp on a glamour magazine is something that's really small and hard to find because that's the whole point of the magazine. The timestamp is only a reference to when that magazine came out. And a timestamp in your newsletter is only going to be referenced to when you sent out that newsletter. It shouldn't be the subject line and it shouldn't be a main header in your newsletter. So I've mentioned activity reports, and now we can look into a little bit more about what that entails. If you sign up for an email service provider, you're likely going to get a report where you get a clear picture of how many people you sent your newsletter to, which emails opened it, and if you had hyperlinks, who clicked on it and how many times. And this is what your activity report will look like in Constant Contact. Now, to get a clearer picture of what your newsletter activity entailed, if you click on the specific activity report, notice under My Reports there's plenty of different options you have to look at. You can see who sent it, which emails received your newsletter, who opened it, which emails clicked on it, and a new feature Constant Contact has that I don't know if anyone else has offered yet, but now you can see who didn't open your email. And this is a great way to segment subscribers who aren't consistently reading your newsletter. You can consider giving them a special offer, like, hey, we miss you, would love to have you back in the store. So that way you can target readers that have shown an interest but are drifting away. And if you notice on your unique clicks, It will break down any link URL that you've inserted into that particular newsletter. And you can find out which emails clicked on that specific link. And this is what I was explaining in Social Media Examiner's newsletter. They'll see a report similar to this, and they'll know which stories was clicked on the most, so they get a better picture of what their readers want to read, so in future newsletters they can keep delivering that quality content their readers are looking for. So what are some things to look for in your activity reports? The first thing is the percentage of unique opens. You want to have subscribers to your newsletter, but the most important part of your list is how many people are actually opening your newsletter. And if they are opening your newsletter, what are they clicking on? Which is why you want to be sure to include those hyperlinks. And another thing to look at is what are they not clicking on? If your readers aren't clicking on a specific post or a certain type of topic, consider eliminating that from your future newsletter. And also compare your previous campaign numbers of open rates and clicks to previous campaigns, so you get a better picture of who's opening your e-newsletter consistently so you can keep those readers engaged. And one thing you want to be sure to view is the do not open emails. If you're finding that someone subscribed to your list but they're not opening your newsletter, think of a way you can target those emails to show an interest in your business. So if you are doing everything and you're still looking for ways to increase your open rates, are there other things you can do to improve your open rate? Absolutely. Here are some of my tips for increasing your open rates. Use a unique call to action in your subject line. Shorten your newsletter. It could be that it's too long and your mobile reader is looking for shorter content. Use content that engages your reader, which is why it's essential to include hyperlinks in your newsletter on different topics so you know what's resonating with your audience. Send it out on a schedule. Do you have a specific time where your readers know when to expect your newsletter so they can be checking their inbox for it? Are you using offers for did not open emails to encourage them to stay interested in your business? You can also use a template with a coupon to help stay top of mind with your customers. Here's an example of one template with the coupon that comes as part of the plethora of templates that you can choose from with Constant Contact. Just look for templates that have a coupon on the bottom. Another way is to create an offer. Now, an offer is similar to a local deal or a smart coupon, but unlike other services like Groupon or Living Social, Constant Contact makes it easy for you to only target people that want to hear from you. One of the risks you have with running a service like Groupon is what this lady experienced for her small business. The Groupon demand was so high, she had to make over 100,000 cupcakes that it almost put her out of business. So in a way, sometimes services like this are a bad idea. But Constant Contact makes it easy for you to offer a great deal to people that want to hear from you. So here are some benefits of using a Constant Contact offer. You only send it to your list, so people that have already shown an interest in hearing from you that want to hear from you are going to get the offer, not somebody that's only out to get your deal and never come back as a returning customer. So that way you can thank people that really want to hear from you that have already been customers of yours. And you can also meet the demand of your deal. Unlike Groupon or Living Social, you decide how many you're giving out. So you don't run the risk that this bakery woman experienced when she ran her Groupon deal. It's also a much cheaper alternative. Constant Contact has 3 different tiers of a $1, $2, or $3, so you pay a flat rate per sale, not a large percentage of your revenue that you're generating from the deal. So what are some tips for a quality newsletter? You want to use a mobile-friendly template nowadays. Many readers are checking their email on a mobile device. Millennials are said to use the internet exclusively on their mobile phones, so your newsletter needs to be mobile-friendly. You also want to include shortened blog posts or other calls to action so you know what your readers are clicking on in your activity reports so you can keep them engaged and stay top of mind. And use coordinating hex codes. Using hex codes in your newsletter that are the exact colors of what's found on your website to help represent your brand well in your newsletter. You also want to include social links and the web version that we talked about earlier, so it's easy for your readers to share your content on their networks. It's also easy for them to view your newsletter in a web format in case they're reading your newsletter on their mobile device. And being human always wins. Here's an example from Justin Timberlake. Now, for one, celebrities like Justin Timberlake are what I consider high metabolism in the social media world, because no matter what they post, people are going to like and share their content anyway, but there's still a valuable lesson we can learn from his tweets. This one tweet that he posted about an upcoming concert and a link to the checkout was retweeted over 700 times. Now, that's still pretty good in the social media world. But what happens on Mother's Day when he tweets a Happy Mother's Day to his mom with a hilarious link to an SNL skit that he performed? It was retweeted over 14,000 times. Now that's 20 times more engagement than what he normally sees from his regular posts, which is a valuable lesson we can take in our social media engagement and when creating our newsletters, that being human drives engagement. So how do you take these posts and put them into your Constant Contact newsletter? Well, in Facebook and Twitter, they have an embed tweet option. You can grab these embed posts and insert them into your Constant Contact newsletter, which you can select and grab the HTML code for, which you can then insert into the HTML version of your newsletter. Another thing you can do is grab a screenshot of it and insert a hyperlink to your post within your Constant Contact newsletter. Now, I know we've covered a lot of information, but here are my tips for success. The first thing is to customize your newsletter with matching hex codes from your website. Another thing you can do is use PicMonkey to edit your photos. And use Save Local or those offers that we talked about to help boost your business, especially if you're running a promotion or an event. And use a call to action and social proof in your newsletters to thank your readers, drive engagement, and have quality content to share in your newsletter. And set up autoresponders so you can stay top of mind with your customers without going crazy. So based off of what we've reviewed, what are some of your goals right now? Do you need to start building your list? Or maybe you want to grow your list? Or you're trying to figure out different ways to enhance the quality of your newsletter to increase your open rates. And integrating your opt-in form across your social platforms and your website. Well, if you're a do-it-yourselfer and you're wanting a guide to show you how to optimize your Constant Contact newsletter and integrate it across your social platforms and your WordPress website in simple instructions and easy-to-follow tutorials, then the Social Media Fitness Gym is right for you. What is the Social Media Fitness Gym? Well, it's two different membership levels. There's Boot Camp for social media and Constant Contact optimization, and Total Body Fitness for social media and Constant Contact integration. In Boot Camp, I cover all the basics of Constant Contact, as well as how to get what I call a social media six-pack, covering modules in Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Twitter, and YouTube, and Constant Contact demos to show you how to optimize your newsletter and integrate your opt-in forms across your social platforms. I also give you bonuses like social media recipes, resources, and a private Facebook group just for Social Media Fitness Gym members. And in Total Body Fitness, I have advanced Constant Contact tutorials where I demonstrate how to grab those embed codes from your Facebook page or your Twitter feed and integrate it into your Constant Contact newsletter. I also cover advanced social media modules for Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter, as well as advanced Constant Contact integration. And I even offer Personal Trainer, which is a one-on-one guide for enhancing your newsletter and your engagement and building your list, as well as bonuses like a tweet sheet guide, resources like how I created my membership website, not to mention the private Facebook group that I mentioned earlier. Now, in organic nutrition, I have advanced Constant Contact modules showing you how to create a color palette to get those hex codes from any image on the web. I also have another module where I show you how to grab those hex codes from any website so you can use them quickly and easily to customize your newsletter. I also show you how to recycle your content on autopilot so you're not struggling to constantly create fresh new content. I show you how to take the great content that you already have and repurpose it in different ways across your social platforms. I also give you more secret tips to enhance your email and open rates that I didn't have time to share with you in this module, as well as how to utilize your relationships with autoresponders. And I show you how to conduct split testing so you know the exact day and time that your readers engage with your newsletter the most. And this is just to name a few. There's more in the Social Media Fitness Gym modules. Now for the bonuses and resources, I give you an organic social media newsletter checklist and a master blueprint to help you make sure your newsletter is optimized before and after you're sending it out. I even give you a social media tweet sheet doc, which I'll give you a sneak peek in just a minute, and organic social media recipe newsletter, which gives you social media recipes for a great Facebook page, Twitter profile, Google Plus page, and LinkedIn profile. And I even give you video tutorials of how I created my membership website, the tools that I used, and a demonstration of how I was using them while I was creating my membership website, just as a special bonus for Social Media Fitness Gym members. And here's a small screenshot I took of a peek from the tweet sheet document. Now it's a lot longer than this, but I've created one master spreadsheet for Social Media Fitness Gym members so they can take their blog posts and keep their tweet this URLs and bit.ly link URLs along with their embed codes and image URLs all in one place so you're not having to constantly search for it every time you need it. And here's a look at some of the video tutorials I cover using the different tools I use to create my membership website like Keynote and ScreenFlow. Now you might be asking yourself how much all of this could be worth, and honestly the bootcamp price could go for over $1,000 when you add the bonuses, resources, and the Facebook community. It would equal about $1,296. The same if you would add up all the features from the Total Body Fitness modules. It would be the same price, which combined would be about $2,500. So even if the lifetime memberships were listed at $197 each, that would still be a steal for the value you're getting for each membership. But as a special offer and as a special thank you for staying with me through this webinar, I'm going to make those prices even lower. So for both Bootcamp and Total Body Fitness lifetime memberships, with the reduced price at $197 each, it would bring it to a total of $394. But as a special deal that you can only find in this webinar, you'll get both Bootcamp and Total Body Fitness lifetime memberships for $97. Now again, that's a link you will only find in this webinar, so click on the link below and sign up now for the Social Media Fitness Gym. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me at my email address, on my website, or connect with me on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I would love to hear from you. And if you're interested in finding out more about my son's podcast, Words of Torah, I encourage you to check it out on iTunes or visit his website at hugoezra.com and find out more about his GoFundMe campaign to raise money to visit Israel for his bar mitzvah. If you want to learn more about the Social Media Fitness Gym, you can go to bit.ly/osmfit or bit.ly/osmweb. But ending all webinars, I want to give you a live tour of what you can expect as a Social Media Fitness Gym member. Now this is the homepage of the Social Media Fitness Gym. This is what you'll see if you're not logged in, and at the bottom, this is what you'll see if you are logged in. So you have quick links to Bootcamp, Total Body Fitness, Personal Trainer, Organic Nutrition, and the bonuses and resources that I talked about earlier. Now if you're new to social media or you're trying to figure out what to do when you first visit this website, I recommend going to the Get Started page to find out what I recommend if you're just getting started, my suggestions for which modules to move to as you advance more through the membership website. So that's the Getting Started page. If you go to Courses, I have broken down all of the courses and the materials recommended for each course that can also be found in the bonuses section. So this is boot camp, organic nutrition, total body fitness, and personal trainer. So that's what you'll find in the courses section. Now, if you're more of a visual person, then you'll want to go to the gym where I have broken down all of the modules that you'll find throughout the website with quick links to take you to that specific module. So this is the first module. This is what each of them will look like with little highlights for what you'll find in that module. And I always give you a time for how long that module will be. If you're more of a list person, I recommend going to table view or list view. Now this is table view, and we're right now just in the bootcamp modules. And what I have broken down is a table for each module, whether it's WordPress, Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube, and Constant Contact. That's all bootcamp. And there's a link to each module, the description, and then the length. And these are in minutes. I wanted to make sure I made my module short and sweet because that's what I like. And in the list view, you'll find the same thing, but more of a list if you're a list person. So this is the list view for organic nutrition. And what you'll find is a list and a breakdown of each of the modules for that particular category. So depending on your preferences and what works for you, I've created the membership website so it's really easy for you to navigate through the different modules, and a recommended course if you need any assistance. Now let's check out the bonuses section. The bonuses section has all the material that I've linked to in the courses, but it's broken down here on the list. And then I have the tutorials of while I was making my membership website, what I was using and how I was using it to create my membership website. And that's a sneak peek that I'll leave for Social Media Fitness members, which I encourage you to sign up for if you're still on the fence deciding whether or not the Social Media Fitness Gym is right for you. And then the last tab is the resources, and it breaks down all of the resources I used, what I used to create my membership website, from what I used in my MacBook Pro, and the different software that I used to create my membership website with. So that's just the Social Media Fitness Gym. I'd like to give you a quick tour of Constant Contact since we still have a little bit of time. So this is what you'll see when you first open up Constant Contact. Your pictures will be kept in your library section. So if you ever want to click on any of the images to edit them, you'd be able to do so here. And here are your emails. So these are, your emails are broken up into drafts, scheduled, sent, garbage, and then your folders if you want to have templates. And there's still a lot more with Constant Contact that we didn't have time to get into yet. But if you wanted to create an offer, you would click on Offers here and select that section. And if you want to set up email autoresponders, you would go to Email and then go to Autoresponders here. But let's go in and do a quick demo of one of the newsletters. So let me copy this one again. And here are the colors and fonts you have to choose with to customize your newsletter. You would just click on the box and it would give you the option, and you'd be able to change the hex code right there. And this is the header option. You want to make sure that the web page is clicked and your social links are clicked right there before creating any newsletter. And if you want to change the subject line, you would just highlight under subject, and you could change the subject line each time you create a newsletter. So when you go in to edit the image, you would just select the box. And remember, the HTML version is right here, but if you go to the top right corner of the image and go to change, you would be able to make those changes. So if I wanted to change an image, if I wanted to change this image to a different image in my library, I would just select on the boxes to choose from. And you could change the view of your images if you want to look at all at once, if you want to have it more of a table, or like that. Whatever you wanted to do. And then if you had an image URL, you would just paste the image URL that way, and then you would select preview and insert it there. And then if you want to change the dimensions, you'd be able to do that here. And if you wanted to add a caption, you could add a caption right here. So I'm going to cancel. Now let's go in and select this one, and I'm going to demonstrate how easy it is to insert a blog post. So I'm just going to delete all that for right now. I'm going to add a blog post. And it has my Avid Admin blog right now, so I'm just going to select Retrieve. And it'll select a blog post from my Avid Admin website. And you can select all of them, one of them, but it makes it really easy for you to insert your blog content. So I'm going to insert this one with the Google SEO changes. And I'm going to select Insert. It's inserted quite a bit of content with a hyperlink over here. And I want to make it shorter than that. So I'm just going to highlight and delete. And then if you wanted to change the hyperlink, you could select up here, and then instead of what Constant Contact inserted, click here to read more, and then whatever the image is, we'll just do Admin. You can even change the title if you want to. But using this blog content insert makes it really easy to insert content from your website. Remember, you want your newsletter to be an extension of your website, not a substitute. And then when you get ready to send out your newsletter, I'll just go to Continue. And then what you'll want to do before you send out your newsletter is to preview it. So here's the social link share bar at the top, and some people confuse the plus sign as Google+, but it's not. If your readers were to click on it, it would give your readers the opportunity to share your newsletter on any one of these social platforms. You don't have to have a presence on this platform, on any of these platforms, for your readers to share your content, but it's an easy opportunity for your readers to share your content on multiple platforms that you might not even be aware of. So that's the social link share bar. And so this is design view, and then without images you would select here, and this would give you a clear picture as far as what your readers are going to see if they're reading your newsletter on a mobile device, which is likely going to happen given the reality of most readers today. So if you wanted to save your newsletter and send it out, I'm going to select Continue. You'd be able to add it to a list, so there's different lists that I have. And then there's Simple Share. Simple Share is something we didn't have time to go over in the webinar, but this gives you an opportunity to automatically post your newsletter to your social networks. So there's 3 different ways your newsletter can be shared on a social network. A social network your reader shares on their network, a social network that your reader wants to connect with you directly on, or posting your newsletter to your social networks when you send it out. Constant Contact makes it really easy for you to do that. And I'm going to X this out and close this for now. Well, that concludes this demo of list building strategies from a Constant Contact All-Star. I know it was a lot of information. I hope you found it really helpful. And if you decide to sign up for Constant Contact, I've got a link below. It's my affiliate link. And if you do sign up with Constant Contact through my affiliate link, I'll be happy to review your newsletter and give you pointers about how you can improve it. Thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully I'll get to see you on the inside at the Social Media Fitness Gym. Thank you so much, everyone. Good night.